We start tonight, 911, the universal emergency phone number. Maybe you've never had to dial the digits before, but statistically, if you live in Odessa, reports show you called the line 2.5 times in 2015. In tonight's special report, we find out why constant calling makes it difficult for Odessa dispatchers to shuffle between calls that could mean the difference between life and death.
Location's going to be Permian Agency. 10-4-10-05.
It's nonstop. Odessa never sleeps.
A city that runs on oil now beats to a more alarming drum.
What's the address?
As oil prices plummet, it's safe to say crime is on the rise, and it happens round the clock, according to Corporal James Santana with the Odessa Police Department.
It's like a little mini Vegas.
Corporal Santana says no shift, quiet anymore.
It starts as soon as you hit the streets. I mean, you start getting the calls.
When it comes down to the populations of both Midland and Odessa, both comparable in size, but when you look at the number of dispatch calls each department responded to in 2015, the Odessa Police Department answered 6 times the number of calls.
Because of the call load, it might take a while sometimes, and I know that's frustrating to our citizens.
Midland and Odessa each have about 110,000 people. In 2015, OPD responded to 275,055 calls for service. Midland answered only 47,000. Big difference.
What's been the most puzzling statistic that you've recognized?
I would say the increase in the amount of auto burglaries, and most of them are looking for guns.
So how do the numbers stack up to a bigger Texas city like San Antonio, an area with 1.4 million people? Reports show Alamo City dispatchers responded to roughly 1.3 million 911 calls in 2015. When you crunch the numbers, it equals 1 call per person in San Antonio, which means statistically people there dial 911 much less than people in Odessa, who called for help 2.5 times in 2015. The math alone overloading OPD's dispatch center.
We have 8 designated 911 lines. If they're all full, 3 people trying to answer them, we may not get it the first time, but we always call them back.
A 14-year dispatch veteran, Michelle Rocca, says right now the department overwhelmed. They're in need of 2 more dispatchers, a reality that's caused the department to operate differently.
We've recently implemented protocols where we have to ask certain questions. And so I know people get upset with some of the questions we have to ask, but in the end it helps them.
And prioritize each call.
Active disturbance, people's lives are in danger. They will go first before property.
Which means some 911 calls might be put on hold.
Has there ever been a time that you know that no one's answered the phone or called someone back?
Not on my shift.
An increase in the number of calls. A new truth Corporal Santana responds to every day.
I can't speak for Midland, but I know that Odessa's got a lot of repeat offenders because our jail is so overbooked.
And until the problem gets solved, Corporal Santana believes the calls will still come a-ringing.
They know they're just going to be right out, so it's not a big deal for them. And I've actually heard that from some of the people that I've arrested.
Another issue contributing to dispatchers having to put emergency calls on hold has to do with your cell phone. If your GPS tracker is off, dispatchers need to know your exact location. Otherwise, they have to go searching in their system trying to locate the nearest cell phone tower, adding to response time. Dispatchers encourage you to keep your tracker on in case of an emergency.